What's going on YouTube? So the full-size flagship luxury SUV segment has seen a lot of shifts in the last year, from the fully redesigned Infiniti QX80 to the recently refreshed Cadillac Escalade. But now it's time for Lincoln to throw their hat into the ring with this fully redesigned Lincoln Navigator. So with some seriously impressive tech and luxury, is this new Navigator ready to navigate itself to the top spot in the segment? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's go ahead and get things started here with our spec dump. What you'll find under the hood is a 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6 engine. This is making 440 horsepower, and that's going to be paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now, in terms of our combined fuel economy, what you'll be looking at is 17 mpg.
Now, the base price for the Lincoln Navigator this year is $99,995, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price and invoice pricing information. Now, of course, we're going to be taking this out for a spin. We can't wait to show you what that's like. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading, and after that, discussing resale and reliability.
But it's time to close up the hood because you're going to want to see this bold exterior as well as the very luxurious interior. Now, of course, when it comes to a flagship level luxury SUV, bold design is really a big part of it because you want to show up with a lot of presence. And this new Navigator certainly delivers on that front. Now, you'll notice up here in the front, we're going to have a very upright and quite large grille. There's now just going to be 3 different trim levels on this model. It's kind of been simplified to just reserve with the Jet Appearance Package and the black label. We have the one right there in the middle, the Reserve with the Jet Appearance Package, which means the grille itself is going to have the nice dark elements instead of the more shiny bits. Also, one of the new design elements that we've seen kind of roll out across the Lincoln lineup is the light bar that runs across the front end. If you choose anything but the base model, you get the full thing that goes all the way across the grille and then seamlessly links in here to our brand new headlights. So obviously you are going to have full LED headlights. They're going to have adaptive abilities. They're also going to have those really cool welcome and exit animations as you approach and depart from the vehicle. And then inside of that, you've got your dynamic turn signal indicator. There are no fog lights available on this model though. Also, part of a bold design is having a series of large wheel options. This Navigator starts with a 22-inch alloy wheel. We have that 22 with the gloss black finish, again, matching the other jet black elements on the exterior. And I think this looks really, really nice, especially with this gray mist paint color, which definitely looks very bold on the new Navigator. The other bold news for this new model is the fact that you can now get 24-inch alloys as an available option. Got a nice accent through here with Navigator branding. The mirrors are also finished in the jet black, and of course they're fully loaded with all the features, including power folding, blind spot monitoring, and auto dimming on the driver's side.
Now, at the side of the all-new Navigator, we come in at an overall vehicle length of 210 inches. Of course, you expect this to be very big, and indeed it is. And this is the standard wheelbase version. If you need extra space, they are still offering the Navigator L, which will extend that out to about 221 inches in length to give you more cargo space and a little bit more room inside. Now, as far as design touches, you will notice that we have kind of a blacked-out window pillar through here. We have some new graphics here in the window itself, and then we have roof rails up top. And speaking of the roof, you can get a 2-tone roof on that black label model. So if you want to go fully to the highest end model, you can really get that cool looking 2-tone roof. And as we head around to the rear, wow, we have a really, really nice design for this new Navigator. It certainly looks very different here in the back. And as far as some of those design touches, let's go ahead and break it down. We do have a spoiler up top. We have a wiper integrated underneath that's hidden. And then right through the center section is where we have this gigantic new taillight unit. It's going to be full length all the way across the back, and of course it is going to be very premium as well. So every single element in here is LED, including the brake light, the turn signal, and your reverse light, which is going to be integrated right there. We're also going to have Lincoln kind of stamped into there, so you can't actually physically touch the badge, but it's recessed in the taillight itself. And of course, you're going to have animations as well. Dropping down to the lower fascia, it's going to be a gloss black for this model. You can tow about 8,700 pounds for this version, and we do have an exposed exhaust outlet here on the right side. Now, these large flagship SUVs are made for family road trips, and Lincoln knows that, so they are giving you every single active safety feature as standard equipment on this Navigator. That will even include things like their hands-free Blue Cruise system, which you're going to get a free 4-year trial of in this Navigator model. But guys, I think your mind might be blown when we check out the inside, so let's go ahead and dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now it's time to check out the interior. First, we'll take a look at the key fob. This is just your typical Ford and Lincoln key fob. Of course, you have standard smart entry and remote start as well. And then getting inside the vehicle, one of the things that you'll notice is that you have a conventional door handle. The Nautilus that we were testing out recently has the electronic style, so some of you guys might like that better. And then we also have the nice power deploying running boards there to make getting inside nice and easy. All right, though, check out this interior. So immediately, as soon as you peek inside, you're gonna just be greeted with a lot of luxury and also kind of a preview of the technology that is to come as well. I want to start off, though, by talking about these seats because they play a big role in this overall interior experience. Now, Lincoln, of course, is kind of known for the perfect position seats. Those are on board with this model. You have standard 24-way power adjustment, and if that's still not enough, you can get 30-way perfect position seats. Nevertheless, we've got real leather on board. Nice finish to these. You can see the seats have a lot of good details, good stitching. They're divided in sections since all of this is individually adjustable. And this is going to be the only color you can get on this model with the jet appearance is just the black, but obviously the black label gives you some fancy different themes as they are known for. Obviously you are going to have memory seats as well, and let's go ahead and climb on inside. Now when you shut the door, you kind of have that entry effect with the mirrors folding out. This version does not have soft closed doors though. And let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. So we'll start out over here on our door trim. We have a nice leather covering all through here. All of this area is also going to be covered in the leather. And the same is going to be true as we move to the upper dashboard. We've got a leatherette. You kind of have like a textured version that makes the top part, and then this is like a smoother version with the stitching detail through there. All versions are going to get a genuine wood trim. So as you can see, we've got kind of this bleached look, which I quite like, and that's going to continue all through here as well. You have some nice finishes on some of the touch points. And let's go ahead and fire it up with the push button start, which is located right here on this panel. And now that we're all started up here, let's just jump right into it. Obviously, we've got a bold new design, especially in terms of the technology with this new model, and that's going to be this 48-inch display. It goes all the way across the cabin, just like it does on the new Nautilus model. It's really a cool system because this is going to contain things like your gauge cluster, but also some extra stuff like navigation, reconfigurable tiles over here, so you can actually customize which things you want to appear, and you can do that inside of this main display. So you can take things like your trip, your fuel economy, your clock, drag them into this space, and when you do that, it will go ahead and change that. Now, of course, one of the cool things about this display is just the overall resolution of it as well. It's very, very vivid, and you'll notice how it's positioned. So they push this back So it's something that is kind of like more in your line of sight with the windshield. But be aware that as such, because of this positioning, you don't have a head-up display on any of the models, but the display itself is standard on all of the models. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have this cool flat bottom design. Of course, all of this is going to be fully covered in leather. You have some touch-sensitive buttons through here. One thing I do want to point out is the fact that this button right here that's glowing, this is how you would make some adjustments to the steering wheel, because it is power adjusting, but you don't have a control anymore. Also, the mirrors don't have any hard controls. You adjust those through the steering wheel, and the power adjusting pedals. Those all three are going to be adjusted with this steering wheel control and the display. The wipers are going to be rain sensing. And then let's turn over here and take a look at interior storage, because we expect to have a lot. It is a big old SUV after all. And we do have quite a few donuts inside of here. So obviously, here at Car Confections, we like to put the stuffed donuts inside to check the overall volume. Inside this console, we have a pretty good amount. We have 17, so it definitely exceeds over our dozen donut pass. There's just this little knot here on the bottom of the console. This actually kind of eats into a little bit of the space up in front of that. If we fold this out of the way, this is where you'll find your standard wireless phone charging pad. You have a couple cup holders underneath this side of the wood, and then we've got this really nice center pass through where you can stick various different objects through there. Obviously, the shifter itself is going to be out of the way. It's a piano key design, so you just press the D for drive. You can press M over here if you want to go into a manual control, which will be located here, but there's not going to be paddle shifters on the steering wheel itself. When we head into reverse, we've got a standard 360-degree camera system. So as you can see, you've got the overhead view. You also have that active trajectory in the back. And then if you come down to this display, which I'll talk more about in just a second, we can actually go through and change the different views and the cameras. So this is where you can actually cycle through. You can also see the visualization of the parking sensors, which is quite nice. And then one thing that I noticed, which is pretty cool, is when I signal to the right or to the left, now we get this live camera feed right there in the gauge cluster. Again, I just like how this is right here in front of the driver and the backup camera is right there looking out the windshield. Now, as far as right behind the shifter, again, you'll notice a few controls, and then you've got this very prominent full glass volume knob for the audio system. This is a 28 speaker Revel Ultima sound system, and let's go ahead and give that a sample. Very nice. This is certainly a high quality sound system. They've got a lot of speakers surrounding you, like up here in the front, also above the headrest here. And it really just gives you a very nice sounding sound quality overall. I would like to see the speaker grills have a little bit more pizzazz to them, like the Nautilus we recently tested out. Those had a more intricate design, but overall it's a very good audio experience. Okay, so let's move into this next display right here. This is 11.1 inches. As you can see, it's just built right into the dashboard. It's nice and within your reach, and it contains a few different things. So first of all, I want to talk about the climate controls. You have 3-zone automatic climate. This is adjusted digitally inside the display. If you press right here, this is where you can get to your additional functionality. One of the important things to note about this model is it's moved to a digital experience with the vent control, so you can't actually grab these. You will have to kind of grab a hold of this, move it to how you want it, and it will adjust inside of the screen itself. Related to this is the fact that you have a fragrance system now. This is standard on all Navigators, and you actually have these 3 perfumes that you install inside the vehicle itself, and that will actually pump that smell into the climate system. We tried this out again in the Nautilus recently. It's really good. Certainly a nice thing to see as standard equipment. Now, as far as the rest of the display, this is where you get into Lincoln's new digital experience. It's a brand new infotainment system for them, and it has Android-based stuff and Google built in, so you can do things like look at Google Maps natively inside of the system itself. It's very nice and responsive. It pairs to your phone instantly. And of course, it does have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities as well. All of this works quite nicely and reflects up there in that top screen as well. Now, when you go into here, this is where you can find some additional applications. So one of the things that this has is Lincoln Rejuvenate. So if you press into that button, this will actually start playing soothing music. It will go into the fragrance system. It'll recline your seats. It'll make them heated. It's really designed to just fully relax you. It's a very nice feature, and it plays this really cool screen effect across everything. Also, one of the things I want to talk about is just how you adjust your seats. So when you grab a hold of your seats, this is where you can find some additional adjustments for those perfect position seats. This is also where you can get into the massage. So of course, it's very important for your flagship to have that. You've got all these different modes that you can enter into, and you also have levels of intensity. This is, again, standard across the board. Really, they've just kind of made this vehicle have so much more standard features than what it did previously. It's going to be more or less fully loaded. Now, off to the side here, you'll notice you've got some controls for your trailer brake and also your Pro Trailer Assist backup. Big old speaker grill runs across the top through there. As we move up to the mirrors, we've got an auto dimming mirror. This is not the digital camera rear view mirror though. HomeLink remotes are built into the visor itself. You have some storage for your sunglasses. And then let me go ahead and slide back the sunshade for the standard panoramic sunroof. As you can see, this is a big piece of glass, and the front panel does open up.
But if you weren't impressed with the front seat features, I think you will be impressed with the rear seat features with this new Navigator, because it is going to be very, very nicely equipped. Now, before we get into all those features, let's talk about space first. For this Navigator, we're sitting at about 42 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. Now, as far as the legroom, that is going to place it very similar to things like the Cadillac Escalade. The headroom is going to be probably a little bit smaller than a lot of those other rivals. I do notice that the moonroof kind of impedes a little bit. However, we brought the official Car Confections ruler along, and the reason we do that is so we can see how much knee room we have behind Drew's 5'8" driving position. I'm 5'9" for reference, and we are sitting at about 8 inches of knee room with the seat slid all the way back. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. Now, speaking of the seat sliding, you'll notice that there are controls over on the side, and that's because we actually have a fully power adjusting second row seat. And that's going to be a feature included if you option for these executive style rear seats. Now, it is actually quite a bit of a less expensive option than the Escalade's executive rear seats that it's now offering. It's only about $2,000-ish for this, and it's going to give you the power seat adjustment, so I can slide my seat forward and back. I can recline it, actually a very good distance. All of it is going to be power. Wow, it reclines a lot. And it's also going to give us more features, such as this entire center console area. So as you'll see, we have that same wood as in the front. We also have a nice storage cubby inside with felt lining. In front of that, we have two cup holders, and then you also have this 5.8-inch touchscreen. This is going to allow you to do all of your vehicle functions back here. Once again, you can adjust the seats here in the screen itself, and we can even do things like turn on seat massage. So as you can see right here, we have the seat massage function. There's just as many functions as in the front. That's also included in that executive rear seating package, along with things like your seat heating and ventilation for the second row seats. That's once again something that's not offered on the gasoline Escalade. So that's certainly really nice that Lincoln is including that. In front of this, you'll find this gigantic door that kind of opens up, and there's a ton of space inside to store whatever you're going to need. Speaking of, while we're down here, you have this thing that pops out, two cup holders inside, and then we have a household outlet. This will adjust your sunshade for the moonroof, and then you also have two USB-C ports in the back of the seats. If you want rear seat entertainment screens, that's going to be included on the Black Label model. Now, let's say you need to have more seating back here. Lincoln didn't forget about you because even though captain's chairs are standard, you can get bench seating on the other two trim levels besides for the Black Label. So if you need that extra seating capacity, Lincoln has you covered. Now, over on the door trim, we do have a nicely done one, leather on pretty much all of it. No rear window sunshades though, so that's a little bit interesting. And then down at the very bottom, we have quite a bit of storage. And now let's go ahead and check out the third row of seats. Of course, that's very important. Lincoln is including a little button here, so you just press that button right there, and it's actually going to very quickly adjust the power adjusting seat to get out of your way. That's definitely a better setup than what Escalade has done with its executive rear seating. It makes it a lot easier to get into the third row itself. And speaking of the third row, yeah, this is a really, really nice third row, let me just tell you. Now, Lincoln says that there is a maximum of up to about 43.5 inches of legroom back here. I'm not thinking that that is actually the right figure with the seat slid all the way back. However, it is still an incredibly spacious rear third row area, and it's actually going to be a little bit bigger than something like an Escalade. Now, I brought the ruler along. This seat is actually slid to be pretty much all the way back in its tracks, and we are looking at, over 4 inches of knee room. Really impressive stuff. My feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. And as far as, the thigh support, that is also fantastic. The seats are sitting really high off the floor, so my thighs are completely, perfectly covered with the seat itself. Really nicely done. Also, we have 3 third row seats back here. And as far as features are concerned, on the side, we have buttons to power recline the third row of seats, so we can recline it a little bit. We have 2 USB-C ports, 2 cup holders, and vents coming out of the ceiling. Now, heated third row seats are going to be offered on this model. You have to choose the black label to get that, but overall, this is a fantastic third row. So because of the incredible space back here, as well as the available heating, I'm saying this third row is fit for a king. Now let's talk about the cargo area. In order to get back here, you just press the button right there. You do also have the kickability as expected. A power tailgate is standard equipment. And it's not just going to be any power tailgate. It's actually the new split tailgate design. You may have seen some of the news about this, but this is a big deal because obviously the Navigator didn't have this before, and it allows you to do a lot of cool things with tailgating. Of course, it's really nice to sit on, and they do also offer accessories as well to kind of customize it to make it very, very nice for tailgating. Now, that's not the only good news, because when we check out the cargo space itself, you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. This, of course, is a very big vehicle, and as such, we have 21 cubic feet of space behind the third row of seats, 60 cubic feet with those seats folded, and as a maximum, 107 cubic feet. Now that's for the standard wheelbase Navigator. Of course, the L will add additional space. It brings you all the way up to 121 cubic feet as a maximum, which, if you're comparing to the Escalade, pretty much matches the standard wheelbase version of the Escalade. So smaller than the Escalade, but it's still going to be plenty of space for the vast majority of people's needs. Other cool stuff to mention is, of course, we have a power folding third row. So you'll notice over here on the side we have buttons. This is going to be standard equipment, and you can just easily press this button. When you do that, it's going to go ahead and fold those third row of seats down. And you may notice that the third row itself looks a little bit different than most third rows, and that's because it's a 40-20-40 split folding third row. So the reason that's a big deal is because you can fold that center seat down, still have people in the third row and the second row, and have an entire, like ski or something very long right through the center section. Escalade won't include that, and this is actually one of the only flagships. I think it might be the only flagship that includes that feature. Really nice stuff here when it comes to practicality. Now, as far as other things, folding the second row of seats cannot be done from the cargo area, so we do have to go up there and do it manually. Now, as you can see, what I went ahead and did was kind of push the second row of seats as much forward as they can be. If you choose those power adjusting captain's executive style seating, they're not going to fold like completely flat. So do keep that in mind. That harms your practicality a little bit if you're really looking to haul long objects. But of course, you don't have to get those, and you can get just the regular seats, which will fold flat. Now for this one, behind those second row of seats with them pushed forward as much as they will go, we're sitting at about 64 inches of cargo length. From behind the third row of seats, that's going to be more like 19 inches of length. As far as cargo width, that's going to be really good, a little over 50 inches wide, about 51. And then as far as cargo height, that's going to be sitting at 32 inches tall. Really, really good stuff. Up underneath of the floor, there's a little bit of additional space. As expected, there's also a spare tire. USB ports and a household outlet as well are included. And I like that you can just press this one button, and it's going to go ahead and close up both of the tailgates. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new Lincoln Navigator. We are, of course, very excited for this drive to show you what this is like behind the wheel. In this test drive, we'll be doing things like getting our sound level reading. But first of all, let's start with a hard acceleration.
All right, 60.
Nice.
Very nice. So, like we were talking about at the spec dump in the beginning, we don't have a powertrain change for this 2025 model. That being said, it still has a lot of power, actually more than the Escalade. So
Yep.
this is a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 engine, making 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. When I put my foot down, I think what in particular I'm feeling is definitely that torque. It does push you back in the seat, and the acceleration is quite quick overall.
Yeah, it is definitely a fast choice. I think you're certainly not going to be wanting for more power. And like Drew said, it is more than the Escalade because the Escalade has the 6.2 V8, 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. So particularly in that torque figure, 50 pound-feet more on this. I think that makes a big difference. The only thing I will point out is, of course, this is a V6 as compared to a V8. So just note that the engine growl is not going to be quite as much as something like an Escalade.
Although I would say they have some type of amplification here to make it sound a little bit more like a V8. So it does have a little bit of a snarl, but, you know, it's not the authentic real thing like you get in the Escalade. Now, as far as the other element of the powertrain, that, of course, is the transmission. We've got a 10-speed automatic transmission. This is, the same one they use in a lot of their other truck-based products across the Ford and Lincoln lineup, and it's a really good transmission. We always have said positive things about it, and continue to think so. Very smooth in terms of the shift quality. If you put your foot down, you immediately get downshift several gears if need be to get you in the power band, and everything just works nice and seamlessly as you'd expect for a luxury SUV.
Yeah. Now, another thing that I'm really happy to see is that four-wheel drive is actually standard equipment on the Navigator. Of course, that's something that Escalade makes you pay extra for. It's a very expensive option, too. So four-wheel drive being standard equipment, that's a big deal for a lot of buyers. Saves you a lot of money. It also means that we only have one fuel economy figure, so we're sitting at 15, 22, 17 miles per gallon combined. Now, it is worth noting that is down 1 mpg over the previous 2024 Navigator. I had probably more to do with just EPA testing than anything else if I had to guess. And it is worth noting that's maybe slightly better than the Escalade, but pretty similar to the Escalade in overall fuel economy.
As I kind of go around that corner there and this corner, obviously this is not an athletic vehicle. Nothing in this segment is particularly athletic, but you have reasonable control in terms of body roll. The steering is going to be very lightweight, so when you are actually turning, the steering wheel shape is a little bit weird, and you have you turn a little bit more turns to lock, but the steering is very lightweight, and all in all, I think that's going to help you have a good sense of maneuverability, even though this is obviously very, very large.
All right, and we're just kind of cruising down the highway, so let's go ahead and discuss ride quality. This is a very important element, of course, for a vehicle like this. Ride quality is of the utmost importance, and here in the Navigator, I am very impressed with the ride quality. It does a great job of soaking up most of the intrusions in the road. Now, there are a couple things worth mentioning here. First of all, you cannot get an air suspension, which I am disappointed by. I wish Lincoln had added an air suspension to the Navigator and the Expedition, for that matter, for this new generation. That's really going to give you that next tier of super, super smooth ride quality. This is just going to be at the smooth and good ride quality level. We do have adaptive dampers as standard equipment, though, so that's just something worth noting. We have the 22s on the outside. I would be very curious, and hopefully in the future we will have the opportunity to get behind the wheel of one of these with the 24s, but of course that will make your ride quality a little bit worse than this. So I'd venture to say maybe the 22s are a good choice in this model, just because it doesn't have the air suspension and you just have the adaptive dampers regardless of what wheel size you get.
And these seats, oh, they are nice.
Yeah, they are good. Now, let's go ahead and get our sound level reading. We'll go have it on fan speed 1, and we're going 55. 56.5 decibels is our sound level reading for this new Navigator. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to rivals. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. Now, as far as how that compares, it is going to be honestly very similar to a lot of the other flagships that we've tested out that are the body-on-frame type, kind of like the Infiniti QX80, the Escalade IQ, the regular gas Escalade as well. So actually it's almost identical to the premium luxury platinum Escalade that we tested out, the refreshed one. So very similar sound level reading. Some of the other options that you may look at, like BMW X7 and Mercedes GLS, do come in quieter, but I think that's just because they're a little bit less boxy overall, so that's something to keep in mind.
And of course, we have to do our slam dunk and airball, so let's get into it. I'll begin with the slam dunk, and that's going to be the elevation of the interior experience versus what it was previously. This is a big change, guys. The technology in particular has really just dialed up to a new level that Navigator has never been at before. And they've added just a lot of nice features and things that I know flagship people are going to appreciate.
Yeah, I also think the third row practicality elements with the 40-20-40 and the split tailgate will be big deals for people because Escalade doesn't even have that. Now, on the flip side with the airball, what we're going to say is they have added a little bit of unnecessary complication when it comes to certain things, like adjusting your power steering wheel. Why you have to do that by pressing that little button, and then just not having a button on the side of the steering wheel seems a little bit overcomplicated. Things like our vent controls, having to do those in the screen. We're not a fan of overcomplicating things just to look cool, and I think that'll be something that people kind of get aggravated with as time goes on. So just something to keep in mind. Some of the elements are a little bit overcomplicated. Now, like we said at the beginning, when it comes to pricing, of course, all this doesn't come cheap, and we are starting at around $99,000, so $5 under $100,000 for the very base Reserve model. Now, if you want the Jet Appearance package, that's around $3,000. The Black Label is going to start at $116,000. Now, as far as this particular model, as you can see, we have that middle trim level. We also have the optional paint, the executive rear seating package, the Jet Appearance package, a few other little things. $19.95 destination. We are sitting all in at $108,605. Now, it is worth noting, compared to an Escalade, that is going to be a pretty attractive price point. Escalades are very expensive, especially in their top trim levels, so you do have a little bit more value here on the Navigator. Now, if you're looking to buy a Lincoln Navigator or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can really help the dealers start competing on price. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video, and we even have things like a monthly payment tool, so we definitely recommend checking that out. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Lincoln Navigator's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 38.07% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 15.6% of original MSRP. Now, it is worth noting, those are lower than industry average, and they're also just a tad lower than other luxury brands such as BMW, Mercedes, and Audi. So that's something to keep in mind. Certainly, the resale value is not fantastic, but really most flagship 3 rows are not.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies on reliability from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, with the latest 2025 data, Lincoln is rated just below the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values or our reliability information, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, lastly, I do want to mention your warranty: a 4-year 50,000-mile basic setup, 6-year 70,000-mile powertrain. If you choose the Black Label model, you do also get 4 years and 50,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that's going to wrap up one of the very first in-depth reviews of the all-new 2025 Lincoln Navigator. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family, and we do a lot of cool car reviews on this channel, and we also try and get them as timely as possible, so you can get the quickest look at some of these all-new models out there to inform your purchasing decisions. Now, if you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.